Hi, so ahead of the launch of the new current generation version of Grid, I've been taking a look back at and replaying Autosport, so Grid Autosport. I'm not a big famous YouTuber, so I don't get early access or pre-launch copies of games to play around with, so what I've basically done is I've fired up Grid Autosport both on my old PS3 so I can have a go at it with a wheel, and I've also used PlayStation Now to stream the old PS3 version. I'll be able to capture some footage of it as well just to see what it's like and revisit it. So how has time stood up for Autosport? Actually, if I'm perfectly honest, it's actually stood up remarkably well. It's a good fun title. There's a lot to do in it. The physics are on the arcadey side of simulation stroke arcade, but that's always really been the case with the Grid series, so that's not really any news to anybody. It's accessible enough. It actually plays better with a wheel, even back on the PS3 version, than it does with a controller. Certainly for me, I find it very twitchy with a controller and prone to the rear end stepping out. Does the same with a wheel. It's just easier to catch and control with the wheel, I found. So it'll be interesting to see how that translates with the newer version. Graphically, it actually looks better than I thought it was going to look, in all honesty. So going back in time to the last generation, it actually stands up quite well, I've got to be honest with you, much better than I thought. And what it really does well is capture the atmosphere of the events, that kind of feeling of actually, it's almost a cinematic version of racing that it's trying to capture here. So it's kind of like the reality of Formula One versus what we saw in the film Rush, just to give you a good example, which makes for an enjoyable game. So I'm actually quite looking forward to how the new version of Grid's going to pan out based on having a play around with the last generation version. It's not a sim, it's not meant to be, it's meant to give you atmosphere, it's meant to give you an AI which is competitive and very aggressive. I'll be perfectly honest with you, it is an aggressive little bugger. Also brings a few tracks which are fairly unknown outside of the Grid series, or even new to Grid themselves, which will be good to see. It'll be interesting to see how the 3 seasons worth of DLC pans out as well. I'm hoping it's a little bit better than what we've got in the Rally 2.0, which is one of the worst value DLC packages known to humanity. So yeah, there we go. A look back and a quick retrospective on Grid Autosport ahead of the release of the current generation version of Grid and the reboot of it, effectively. So if you found this useful, please do hit the like button, and if you want to see more like it, please do subscribe away. Thanks very much. Bye.